Welcome to Psalm 58. Now, Psalm 58, I think this is, we've had hints of this before, but this is the first psalm where we're really going to delve into the whole concept of an imprecatory psalm. Imprecatory doesn't sound like a very comfortable word, and it's not actually a very comfortable thing to read. Some people really struggle with this. What we have in Psalm 58 is the first 5 verses talking about the rulers of the nation. Okay, these were judges, officials, government, that kind of thing. And there's a problem. Notice how he begins. Do you indeed decree what is right, you gods? Do you judge the children of man uprightly? No, in your hearts you devise wrongs, your hands deal out violence on earth. He's not talking here about spiritual, in the heavenlies kind of a concept of gods. He's using that label, small g, gods, plural, for human leaders. And for these first 5 verses, he's saying, you're corrupt, you're killing people, you're hurting people, people are suffering under your rule, and it's wrong, and it should not be. We could relate to that in a small way. I suspect if we'd grown up in a country, maybe you have, a country where there was a totally untrustworthy leadership, untrustworthy laws, where police were corrupt, where judges could be bribed, where the rich could get what they wanted and others could really suffer for it. I mean, if you grew up in certain parts of the world, you already have that sense of just how broken and how evil society can be. Maybe we start to see that, or we start to uncover aspects of that. And the cry of our hearts when we're absolutely stuck in a situation where we can suffer but we can't do anything about it, where we can be taken advantage of, where we can be hurt or even killed, and there's no response, there's no legal protection. The natural cry of our hearts is for justice. We want justice to occur. I think sometimes we find passages like what we're going to see here in Psalm 58, we find them uncomfortable because we've always been comfortable. And we take things for granted, like our human rights and like having government and police and justice systems in place that are based on Christian values. But what if that's gone? What if you're in a situation where you're hopeless in human terms? Well, then, of course, you cry out to God. And that's what happens. This lament, really, Psalm 58. You've got 5 verses of this is wrong, kind of condemning the actions of the leaders. And then you come down to this section, and this is the bit that people struggle with. And I want us to just not avoid it, but look at it, zero in on it. This is a 7-part curse, if you like. This is the imprecatory part. This is where the writer of the psalm is asking God to bring justice against those who are doing evil. And it feels uncomfortable because we don't tend to talk in these terms. God, break the teeth, tear out the fangs, let them vanish like water, let them be blunted, let them be like the snail that dissolves into slime, like the stillborn child who never sees the sun, and may he sweep them away. It's a 7-fold, may God do this against them. Now, notice that it's asking God to do that. This isn't calling on each other to break out in violent attacks against other people. It's saying, God, you should do this. Implicit within that is a sense that God knows what to do, that he is the one that can do what's right in the world. And so when we're facing those horrific type of circumstances, it's appropriate to cry out to God and to ask him to bring justice, but to leave it with him. It's not our job to go around like vigilantes, spotting anything we don't like and then addressing it with violence. Of course not. But if God chooses to bring somebody down, if God chooses to take somebody out of leadership, if God chooses to replace a government, if God chooses to bring judgment against evil, then we have to hold our hands up and say, that's right, because he's in charge. Now, the ultimate kind of conclusion of the psalm and the encouragement, really, I think the application comes right at the end. The righteous will rejoice when he sees the vengeance. He will bathe his feet in the blood of the wicked. Mankind will say, surely there is a reward for the righteous. Surely there is a God who judges on earth. We may not see that in a particular circumstance. We may not see that over the course of many years or over the course of an entire lifetime, but ultimately, in the end, we will all be able to say, surely there is a God who judges on earth. And because we have that confidence that there is no wrong that won't be righted, therefore we can live underneath the wrongs, crying out to God, but leaving it with him. Psalm 58, not comfortable reading, but it's important that we recognize the reality of that. There are people in our society right now crying out for justice and not being heard, but God's hearing. God knows, and maybe these Psalms, uncomfortable in some seasons of life, difficult for us to read, but maybe these Psalms are actually a real gift, a real help when the times get extra tough. Thanks for watching. See you next time.